Oh, hi. Well, as you've noticed, the leaves are beginning to turn, and that can only mean it's time for the annual Wayne County Historical Society Ghost Walk. We're going to be doing things a little differently this year. We're going in chronological order. So please join me as we meet the ghost of Wayne County, who has shaped not only this county's history, but also played pivotal roles in many of the dramatic and consequential events in our own country's history. Let's go.
My name is Joseph Todd. I was a doctor. I practiced medicine in Wayne County for 80 years. I was born in 1837 on a farm near Millbrook in southern Wayne County. I attended country schools, and when we moved to Worcester, I attended public schools and then private schools also. My father decided that he wanted me to be a surveyor, so I took up that training and I decided it wasn't for me. So he gave me two choices. He said, I can give you 140 acres of this farm and you can work the farm, or I can pay for you to go to college. Now, in light of the fact that I'm partially paralyzed on my right side, I didn't think that I had the physical wherewithal to make a living on a farm. So I thought college was a better idea. It was about that same time that I became very sick. I had tuberculosis. My family doctor diagnosed me with tuberculosis, and he said, you have less than 1 year to live. That got my attention, really got my attention. I decided I had to do something about it. I told my father, if you give me some money, I won't die. So he gave me some money. And soon after that, I was off to Iowa City with my cousin. We went out west and we had a great time. We bought 2 mules and a carriage. We bought a double-barrel shotgun and 2 pistols. We literally lived off the land. We hunted for food. We fished, we slept under the stars, we breathed a lot of fresh air. It was truly a transformative experience for me. And as a result of all that great outdoor life and eating all that great game and fish, I put on 50 pounds by the time I returned home. I went from 95 pounds to 145 pounds. And I felt like a new person. It was truly a transformative experience. As a result of that remarkable recovery, I decided I wanted to go into the study of medicine. I wanted to become a doctor. I asked a couple of doctors in Shreve if they would take me on to train. And so for 3 years, they said they would do that. I followed them around for 3 years. I went around the countryside in a carriage just like this one here. I saw patients. I learned as much as I could about taking care of patients, about disease. And I also became obsessed with reading every possible medical textbook I could find. That started a lifelong obsession with reading and accumulating books. I always wanted to learn as much as possible. I decided, after that experience, I applied to medical school at the Bellevue Hospital Medical School in New York City. And that was in 1861. Right after the start of the Civil War, it was determined that I was unfit for military service because of my physical condition. But I had an opportunity to volunteer working with doctors in the aftermath of the Battle of Gettysburg. So I went to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and I learned all about surgery, and I decided that I really wanted to go into that field. So when I came back to Worcester in 1864, I decided that I wanted to be a surgeon. And so I primarily focused on surgery after my medical training at Bellevue. I graduated from there in 1864, and that's when I came back to Shreve. I set up a practice down there. For 12 years, I focused on orthopedic surgery. After that, I moved my practice to Worcester in, it was 1874. And I became more interested in the science of medicine and doing research. I was the only doctor that I know of in Wayne County that even had a microscope. And at that time, there was very little understanding of infectious diseases, and I became fascinated with that. I submitted a paper that was accepted at the American Medical Convention, and the next year I was invited to go to Berlin, Germany, and participate in the International Medical Convention there. While I was at that medical conference in Berlin, I decided to visit as many hospitals as I could while I was in Europe. I visited hospitals in France, Germany, and Switzerland, because that's where the best medical people were in the world. There were very few levels of medical practice in the United States that reached that level as they did in Europe. I wanted to learn as much as I could about all the latest techniques. Now, something happened along the way when I was practicing medicine. I ran into American Indians, something that you call them Native Americans now, but at the time we called them American Indians. I became fascinated with their way of life and their culture, and I studied them, and I started collecting fossils. I started collecting rocks, and I was doing archaeology, and over the course of many years I accumulated over 10,000 artifacts, including fossils, skeletons, rocks, and so on. I became so interested in geology, I actually published a scientific article in a geology journal. When I died on August 12th, 1937, I was 99 years old. I was still seeing patients in my office. People often ask me, how did I live so long? What was the key to that? Well, I always hearken back to that trip I took out west with my cousin, where we lived off the land and we lived outside. And I also, my entire life, from the time I was a young boy, every day when I woke up in the morning, I splashed ice cold water on my face and on my shoulders, and I would take 3 deep breaths and put my chest out, and I'd feel great. I really had an interesting and wonderful life.
We hope you have enjoyed these presentations. As someone who values the promotion and the preservation of our unique Wayne County history as much as we do, please consider making a donation to or becoming a member of the Wayne County Historical Society. Thank you.